Hi, there is a lot going on right now. There is a huge windstorm. My brother is screaming in the basement. My foundation does not match my neck, but this is the best I can do. So welcome to my channel. So today's video is just a quick little book recommendations tag based on the tag that Steph Borer did. I think at this point it was like a month ago, so I know this is like the coldest tea in the world, but I wanted to do it and I haven't had a chance to film in like 2 weeks because people won't leave my home, and I live with my parents and my little brother, so I'm trying to move out. It's going as well as it can when you live in like a country where houses are like $1 million. We are doing the best with what we have and persevering and perspiring, both of them, because I'm always sweating. So let's just cut the chit chat and let's just get into these book recommendations. So our first prompt is a book that you tell people is your favorite. And my go-to is always Song of Achilles. If anybody ever asks me, like they find out I'm a reader and they want to know my favorite book or recommendation, this is always my go-to. And I believe this was also the one that Steph said as well. Taste. We have great taste. This book is just a good go-to because I feel like if you're in like adjacent to the book community or you've seen like a book talk, you'll know that this book is popular. So you'll know that like I'm really on trend and really cool, which is always important. But no, this genuinely I think is my #1 favorite book. Like every time I read it, I feel the same, like, oh my God, I've never read something like this before. This has moved me so much. I cry. The last time I read it, I had to sleep with it in my bed under my pillow because it hurt my heart and I had to be holding it. I feel like this is kind of cliche at this point to love Song of Achilles, but like the fact is, it's just that good. So if you for some reason haven't read it, please read it. Please, for the love of God, read this book. #2 is a book that is your guilty pleasure. I feel very guilty about this. I influenced multiple people in my real life who I know and love to read this book series, and I kind of feel bad about it. If you don't know, this is A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by our girl Sarah J. Maas. The reason I feel guilty about this is because, like, is this the best book ever? Absolutely not. But did it take up my brain? Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I feel guilty. I hate the fated mates thing. There's a lot in this book that I am not a fan of, but unfortunately, she's still around. The next prompt is a book everyone loved but you didn't, and I don't have it, but it is Normal People and Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. Not Sarah Rooney. This is Sarah. That's Sally. As I've talked about on my channel before, I'm not a huge fan of Sally Rooney. I've given her 2 chances. Like I said, Normal People, Conversations with Friends, and I didn't really vibe with either of them, so I think I'm done reading Sally Rooney books. I'm so happy for everyone who loves her. They all seem like really cool people that like I would love to grab coffee with and go thrifting with, but unfortunately we just don't have the same taste in books. If that makes me uncool, this already's done that, so that's fine. The next one is a book you read the fastest, and for me that was last year. In a day, I read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. And actually, I feel like it's in the Sally Rooney universe, like in the hot girl sad books, like that book kind of fits in there. So it's surprising that I liked that book. But I will say one of the main reasons I read it so fast was I was severely hungover from going out the night before, and that's a great book to read when you're hungover because it's all about just like wallowing. So I really enjoyed wallowing and reading that book. Was that book the best book I've ever read? No, but I read it in a day, and I haven't done that since I was a little kid, like checking out the click books and like returning them in a day. So good for her. So our 5th prompt is a book that deserves more hype, and for me that is going to be the Neapolitan Series by Elena Ferrante, and the first book in that series is My Brilliant Friend. Now I'll be honest, this book does have a good amount of hype, like internationally, because it has an HBO show, so I feel like it's pretty silly of me to say this is underhyped, but in terms of like my book content consuming, like booktube, bookstagram, back when I was on book talk, no one was ever talking about this book. I think I just like randomly found it on like a YouTube comments, not even like a YouTube video. Someone in the comments was like, you should read this book, so I read the book, and it is so good. It is in my like upper echelon 5 stars. Like the whole series are 5 stars, so that is saying a lot. I just feel like Elena Ferrante, it absolutely is an icon and a queen, and we should praise her more, and there should be more people talking about her on every forum. So read this book and then talk about it ad nauseum, because I need support on that journey. Number 6 is a book that is becoming a movie or TV show. So I'll be honest, I made this list like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and at that point either Daisy Jones and the Six had just come out, or like the episodes were coming out, so I put that book. But I have watched up to episode 5. I still have to watch the last 5 episodes or whatever it is, but I really enjoyed it, and the fashion has me in a chokehold. I love the casting, I love the songs. So far it's great. I probably won't finish it all the way because my brain is wrong, and that's like a little thing I like to do to just keep myself sane. But yeah, great show. If you haven't watched it, I would recommend it. If you haven't read the book, read it. And that is Daisy Jones and the Six by, what's her face? Our next one is a book you have reread the most, and that is going to be Harry Potter. Again, this is kind of a guilty pleasure, but if I'm being honest, I have reread this series so many times. Each year I do a re-listen now, so I've been doing that for like 3 or 4 years, I think. So that plus however many times I've reread it as a child. I hate J.K. Rowling, but unfortunately I have a codependency with the books. So thanks for that. Thanks, Joanne. Fuck you. We got a new stack here. Our next recommendation is a book from a genre you don't typically read, and that recommendation is one I've mentioned on the channel before, and that is Carrie by Stephen King. I'm not a spooky book girl, so it was a departure for me to read this. So far, out of all the Stephen Kings I've read, which is maybe 4, this is my favorite. It's short, it's concise, and it gets right to the point, and it's a teen girl drama. Love it. If you don't know the plot of Carrie, it's about a girl who has telekinesis, gets pig's blood poured on her, and then kills everyone. So yeah, if you aren't into horror, this isn't very spooky ooky, like it didn't keep me awake at night, which is good. But yeah, Stephen King is like the king of horror. That's a good pun. I bet you no one's ever said Stephen King was the king of horror. I'm the smartest woman in the world. So our next prompt is a book that deserves all the hype it gets. And for me, other than like, I wanted to include Song of Achilles, but I'm trying to be different. That is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I feel like I've seen people say that it's not her best one, and it's like just overloved by the girlies on the internet because of the movies. But guess what? This book fucking slaps. And this is a compilation of Pride and Prejudice, Northanger Abbey, Persuasion, and Emma that I got at the thrift store. So I didn't actually read from this book because look how small the font is. But like, I just wanted to have it because it was like $2. So Pride and Prejudice, you feel like it can't be as good as it's been hyped up to be like for centuries. But you know what? Jane Austen doesn't miss, and she did not miss when she wrote Pride and Prejudice. What else can I say about this book that hasn't been said? It's amazing. If you haven't read it and you're scared of classics, if you've watched the movie, I feel like it's a pretty easy read. For me, when I'm reading a classic, it's easier for me to have already watched some form of the plot to like follow the language because it's different. But yeah, this was great. Love it. Our next one is a book you usually recommend when needed to give a recommendation. So I have 2 for this because it kind of really depends on who you're talking to. So if I'm talking to like someone who isn't like a typical reader and they just want something to pick up that they're going to enjoy, and they might be a little ooky spooky because I feel like everyone's in their crime era. Not me. I like to watch sitcoms over and over again, but I'm glad for the true crime girlies that they found something they love. But if that is the kind of person I'm reading as like a, you know, a gen pop kind of girly, I would say go for Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This book is really good. I read it before I watched the movie because I thought that the movie would be scary, and it kind of is a little ooky spooky, but it's also one of the greatest films of the decade. So it was worth it. The whole premise for this book is that Nick's husband Amy has gone missing, and it looks like he killed her. Throughout the first half of the book, we're getting Nick and Amy's perspective, and it's like Amy's perspective before the day that she went missing, and that isn't in the movie. So if you're a fan of the movie and you haven't read the book, I would say give the book a read as well, because that extra insight is so juicy. And also, having not seen the movie before I read the book, the twist in the middle of this book, I was so shook. I read this at work. I should have been working, but that job was so stupid. Oh my God. It was Christmas break. Leave me alone. If you don't know anything about Gone Girl, don't look up spoilers, just read this book and you'll have a great time. So that's why I recommend this book, because it's juicy. If you've seen the movie, you already will like this, and I feel like it's still additive enough for fans of the movie. But yeah, it's just a good recommendation for those ooky spooky people in your life. The book I like to recommend for people who I already know are avid readers, that I think maybe they wouldn't have read, is Five Little Indians by Michelle Good. And this is a Canadian book about several different Indigenous Canadians talking about their experience with with residential schools and how that's impacted their lives. And we follow several different characters, 5 different characters, and we see how, like I said, how being in residential schools in their childhood has affected their lives. It's obviously not the easiest read because it's about some really sensitive content, but if you're Canadian, or even if, I don't know, I feel like even if you're not Canadian, this is a really important read to learn more about residential schools and about like the experiences of the victims of residential schools and the generational impact of it. So very different than Gone Girl, but it's also just a really, really well-written book. And I don't know, I feel like more people should read it. I feel like it should be required reading. So yeah, it's always a recommendation, and I don't think anyone's taken me up on it, but it's good.
Hi, this is Editing Megan. I just wanted to hop on quickly and say, in this clip, I say victims of residential schools when, from my understanding, the preferred term is survivors of residential schools. So I just wanted to make that quick correction, and please continue reading books from Indigenous authors about experiences within residential schools and also just stories of joy. I'm hoping that I can take more opportunities on this channel to center books from Indigenous authors, but please give Five Little Indians a read. It is super enlightening and I think super important.
So this is a new one I can add in. A book that has your favorite characters. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I haven't even read Crooked Kingdom yet. Like, I just finished this book. But the characters in this book I love so much. And this is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. If you've been following my channel, you'll know that I have had a very tumultuous relationship with the Shadow and Bone series to get to Six of Crows, and honestly, it was all worth it. The characters in this book are so lovable. I would say my favorite, I love Jesper. I love him so much. And I'm also a Nina and Matthias shipper right now. Like I said, I'm only in the first book. I love forced proximity. I love enemies to lovers. So that was great for me. Also, the second season of Shadow and Bone is out, which I haven't watched it yet, but I'm pretty sure it follows a little bit more of the plot of this book, because I just watched season 1 and I was so confused because I was like, they are not going to the ice court. What is going on? Why are they alive at the same time as Alina? I mean, Alina, okay, spoiler, the plot takes place at the same time as Shadow and Bone, and this is the oldest opinion because the show came out a year ago. But like, why? I get it, but like, why? But I also love the casting, and I love Jesper so much. I love him so much. So yeah, favorite characters. I need to shut up because I'm obsessed. Like, I think about it all the time. It's getting bad. A book you wish you could live in the world of, and for me, that's going to be The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I don't want to live in the world of Lord of the Rings because that world's really hectic and scary, but the world of The Hobbit is just so vibey. I love it. I would love to be in a hobbit hole. I'm already short, so I feel like I would fit in. I love to eat a lot of food, and I'm wary of travel. I like to go around Canada, but leaving the country terrifies me. So I feel like I'd be a great hobbit. Like I said, I'm not saying I want to live in the Lord of the Rings world. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I want to live in the Hobbit world, where they're just going around having a good time. The stakes are pretty low. The stakes are about to get real high in the Lord of the Rings. But in this book, we're just vibing. It's just me and Bilbo. We're having a great time. We're smoking a pipe. We're having some mead. We're sitting. We're having a fire. And we're chatting. And maybe we'll do a trick or a prank. It'd be great. So this prompt is a book you thought you would hate, but you ended up loving. I don't have any of these books. I will probably end up buying them. But it's the Shadow and Bone Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. I read the first book and I was like, I hate this. This is horrible. Why is anyone reading this? And it was mostly because I was confused and I had an issue with like not knowing where I was in the book, and that's me. I also got comments on that video saying that like the books get a lot better, and that's true, they do. By the second book, I was in. The third book, I don't think I liked as much as the second one, but overall, I didn't think I was gonna like this series at all because The premise wasn't really a sell to me. I didn't like the first book, so I was going in with low expectations to finish the series, but I really liked it. It turned itself around. I will say, I love Six of Crows so much more than I like Shadow and Bone, but it took me where I needed to go. Our second to last prompt is a book that made you cry, and I had to give this one, To a Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. I talked about this one at like my wrap up of my top 10 reads of 2022. But this book made me cry so severely that I had to like put it down for long periods of time because it was so upsetting. But it also made me happy at the end. So I still would recommend this. And I actually just got it from my grandma for her gift for her birthday. So I said, here you go, happy birthday, hope you cry. This is a tearjerker. It's about Ove, who's an old man, and he wants to, and you learn about his life, and it's really sad. It's like the first 5 minutes of Up, just for the whole book. So yeah, and I can't even watch Up because the first 5 minutes made me cry too much. I just turned it off. So I don't even know if that's a happy movie. I wouldn't know. Don't tell me. I like mystery. If you want to cry and you don't want to read A Little Life, because that seems like a really long book, go for this bad boy. The last prompt on this list is a book you wish you could read again for the first time. And I didn't want to repeat any books, but I need to live in my truth. And my truth is that I wish I could read the Song of Achilles again for the first time, because this absolutely destroyed me. And I do get that same feeling rereading it, but I don't know, there's something about the first time I read this book, it made me realize how much I could like books again, or how much I could love books, and how much I could like get back into reading, because I used to get that feeling as a little kid reading books and loving it, and then it took forever. I was like all my teenage years, young adult, through university, never found a book that like I really connected with, and then I picked this one up, and it was just like, it changed my world, and it's why I'm filming this video today. So I'm sorry that I'm recommending this again, but this is the answer. So that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope maybe you can get some book recommendations. I've talked about several of these before, so I'm sorry for a bit of repeating, but I'm living in my truth. I don't want to lie to you. I'll be honest. I'm the most honest person that I know, and I can't lie to you, so. Anyways, yeah. So if you're looking for any book recommendations, I hope this helped. I'm sorry that I didn't film a video for 2 weeks. I'm back at work, so expect disappointment. Yeah, so hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!